Yo, what's up? And welcome to episode 222 of Throwback Hoops. My name is Rob Clayton, and I'm joined by none other than Mr. Woody V. What's happening, mate?
It's such an exciting time of the year when we do these team previews, man. So it's good to be back to do our fifth season together, man. It's been awesome.
5 seasons is a lot, right? And even just having that 1 week off, it feels like it's been ages since we've been on. You're a cricket fan, Woods. I did talk about episode 222, so a shout out to the late great Richie Benno, of course. So I'm sure would have liked those numbers had he still been here. Looking forward to kick it with you as always, mate. Before we continue, just a reminder to please make sure you like, rate, and subscribe on YouTube or wherever you listen to your podcast. Give us a like, give us a comment, all those sort of cool things. We'd really appreciate that. Lots to talk about as always, Woods, but of course we're going to start off with some jerseys today. Why don't you show us who you got?
Yeah, man. Look, I'm running out of New Zealand Breakers and Tasmania jerseys to wear, but I'm going to ask you about this guy, a question about him, right?
Sure. So Woods is standing up rocking the number 7, pink New Zealand, William McDowell-White jersey.
So I want to ask you about Will McDowell-White. He recently signed in the Italian Serie A, right? Yeah. After playing in France last year. He put up modest numbers, but when you play in the European very structured league, your numbers don't jump off the page. You got to fit into a system, right?
Yeah.
Is he like a forgotten man? Has he fallen off the radar and down the pecking order in terms of selections for Australia and national honours, right?
Yeah,
he's
possibly I was going to say possibly in these leagues he's not really on the public eye there, but
on the radar.
He's probably having a great time, right? He's probably earning good money. He's getting to see the world, stamp his passport and everything. And we say this all the time, right? It's a short career, so he could just play somewhere locally in Australia or New Zealand where he's played before. But the guy's seeing the world, so full credit to him. He's still got heaps of siblings that are playing NBL1, so they're still represented though. Well,
we're going to talk about another guy who's gone and earned his money and is coming back after a long storied career overseas later in the show, aren't we?
Yeah, nice. For sure. No, I like that one. I know you like those pink jerseys as well. So, Orlando Magic hat, any reason for something?
Oh, no, I just thought, the black kind of goes well with the pink, So.
Nice. I appreciate that. Well, yeah, that's a bit of a tease. I guess we're starting off our team previews, and that's one of the teams we're talking about. I did think about wearing an NBL jersey for one of the teams that we're showing today, but there was some news last week that maybe changed my decision, so I'll stand up and show you who I'm rocking today.
Yeah, I know who he's wearing, and one of his favorites of all time. Robbie's wearing the Western Conference 0 Russell Westbrook jersey.
Super rare jersey, this one.
Great jersey.
Yeah, this was, I've loved Westbrook for years. He's, one of my all-time favourites. So when he played this All-Star game in 2013, I tracked this one down. I probably paid way too much for it. But, yeah, got it out of the cover today. I thought, damn, this thing looks nice. It's got some nice colours popping on it and stuff like that. And, look, we've got a true-false question about Westbrook later, so I'm not going to go too much on about him now. But, yeah, no, as I said, one of my all-time favourites, and I thought it was fitting to show an All-Star jersey. I think we've shown some Westbrook OKC jerseys before, so nice colours on this one, right? It kind of pops and everything else like that. So, yeah, we're certainly going to talk about Westbrook, and, of course, the big story was that he did retire last week. So, and potentially turning down a few offers to take on, veteran bench roles with some teams. So he's sort of going out on his terms, which not everyone can say they do. So, looking forward to talk more about that later. My card of the week is also kind of a topical one at the moment. So there was a guy that yesterday was named to the NBA Hall of Fame. So I don't know if you saw the Hall of Fame announcement.
I did.
So today I'm showing a Panini 2022-23 Doc Rivers auto card. So got a nice Doc Rivers auto card wearing that classic old school Hawks jersey. So it's numbered 15/49. It's a pretty rare one, this one, Woods. Former Hawks point guard. And incidentally, Woods, he's a one-time All-Star in 88, a one-time Coach of the Year in 2000, and a one-time Championship Coach in 08. So interesting with the Hall of Fame thing there. I was thinking about this today, right? Career average playing of 10.9 points and 5.7 assists. So nothing that jumps off the page there. Did have the one All-Star game, but it's clearly the contribution of the playing and the coaching mix that he's got there. And look, he's always been a bit of a maligned coach. It's had some, detractors, I think, there. But at the end of the day, he was named to the top 15 all-time coaches as part of the NBA 75th anniversary, a few years ago now. So he was named as part of that top 15 and had a pretty solid career. Always like putting you on the spot, Wood, so I have prepared a little bit of a trivia for you. So Doc Rivers is second all-time in Atlanta Hawks franchise history for assists. So he's about 3,800 assists there. Trae Young is number 1. I want to know if you can name any of the other 8. So Trae Young's at 1, Doc Rivers at 2. Give me some other names.
Jeff Teague.
Yep, Jeff Teague is 6.
Mookie Blaylock.
Mookie is 3.
Spud Webb.
No Spud Webb. Kind of surprising.
Okay.
Right? Yeah.
Steve Smith.
No Smith.
Okay, actually, not enough of a tenure.
You've only got one.
Josh Smith.
No, I was actually wondering. I don't think he'd be far off there.
Cliff Hagan.
Cliff Hagan, yep, he's 10. You've got another guy that was in the Josh Smith era who was
Joe Johnson.
Joe Johnson, he's at number 7.
So how many got left?
So you've got 1, 2. You've only got 4 left, which is pretty good effort. 2 of them as jerseys are retired in the rafters. So that's kind of giving you 2. We've seen those retired jerseys. Probably the 2 greatest ever Hawks, I would have thought as well.
Dominique.
Correct. Yep, Dominique.
John Havlicek.
No, Havlicek didn't play for the.
Oh no, not Havlicek. Yeah. Sorry, I'm talking about not Havlicek. Who's the other guy? Who's the other white guy?
John Konkak.
Okay, no.
Dominic's at number 9. So, the other white guy maybe.
Hudson. Is it Hudson?
So Nolly Hudson. So Bob Pettit, I'll give you that one. So
Bob Pettit.
8th. And the other one's a bit obscure. It's Eddie Johnson, but not the Eddie Johnson that people remember from Phoenix Suns. And I think the Eddie Johnson who's probably not the best of blokes from the stuff I've read about him in the past. So, yeah, I thought that was pretty interesting. And Trae Young, 1,000 ahead of Doc Rivers now. So, yeah, it's interesting. Will someone start moving up that list there? It's going to take a while.
Yeah, right? I meant Bob Pettit when I said John Havlicek. They're both from... Yeah.
And it shows you, and all these people that said that Dominic didn't pass the ball, hey, he's 9th in career assists there. So not too
Havlicek, obviously, his whole career for the Celtics, right?
What are your thoughts just quickly on the Hall of Fame? Yeah, I think he was.
Yeah.
The Hall of Fame debate for Doc Rivers. Any issues with him making it? Or?
Coach of the Year. NBA champion as a player, NBA champion as a coach.
Not as a player.
Oh, no, sorry. 1 All-Star appearance as a player, NBA champion as a coach, and coach of the year, and then serviced the game for 40 plus years. Yes.
Yeah, so as well, yeah. Isn't this a cracking card as well? I've got to say, Woods, that was, I think, the first year I really followed the Hawks was the 84-85 season. So Doc was the starting point guard in that team. And seeing that jersey, and I was actually really happy when I saw the news yesterday because, I loved Doc back in the day. Dr. J actually gave Glenn Rivers the nickname Doc as well, actually, recently learned. So I hadn't heard that story before. So Dr. J gave him that nickname. So, yeah, nice. So, a bit of a difference. A Russell Westbrook All-Star jersey, Doc Rivers card, and a nice BMW, as you like to call him,
right.
Breakers jersey there.
I did all right, got maybe 70% of it, right?
Yeah, not bad, actually. Yeah, I mean, who would have got Eddie Johnson as well? I wouldn't have got that if you'd asked me that. Yeah, Josh Smith, I have to check what he was at, because he did get a lot of assists when he was there, playing from the power forward spot, but I'll have to double check that. But yeah, we thought we'll start off with some NBL news, and we should say, Woods, not much NBA to talk about today. We're not going to flog a dead horse. There hasn't been a lot happening. Look, Dennis Schroeder got traded, playing for his 100th team now, so that was about the only news since we last recorded. We do have the Westbrook news later on in the show, but I wanted to start with some NBL news, and it feels like there has been quite a bit of news in the NBL since we last recorded, including a number of imports that have been signed. Thought we'd maybe talk a little bit about that today, and I should say as well, Woods, we're not going to talk about every move that's happened in the last couple of weeks because we are going to cover that on these team previews, the players that are joining the teams and everything else like that. But there was a few key signings, and look, none other than the biggest import name signing we've seen in quite a while, and that's Melbourne United signing Cole Anthony. So still 26 years of age, career scoring averages of 12 points. How surprised were you with this pickup?
Look, I mean, a little surprised, but then again, not so much, right? There's that close bond, Robbie, that he shares with Joe Ingles, right? Yeah. And that friendship that they've had from playing at Orlando together. And I think that played a huge role in this decision, right? Yeah. And look, we've talked about it. The NBL has eyes on this league, right? And if you want to get back to the NBA, coming to the NBL is not the worst career decision. And at 26 or whatever, you said he's got a career scoring average of 12 points a game, did you? Yeah. So I mean, like, if we break that down, last year when he was playing for Milwaukee, he wasn't playing much at all, right? And those career averages were seriously down, playing 13, 14, 15 minutes a game from memory, right? I can't remember the exact number, but something in that region, right? And I think that he was on the cusp of being like a relevant player in the NBA, right? Or even playing relevant minutes in the NBA this year. Yeah. So this presents a great opportunity for him to come down here and play for a storied club like Melbourne United in a good system with someone he's familiar with in Joe Ingles, and try and leapfrog his way back to the NBA into a role there. Yeah.
Definitely, mate. NBL social media just blew up last week when this news came, and it was a bit of a surprise to me. And you see some of these guys that maybe veterans that have played that we know. I mean, even guys like who's the Southeast signing? Skylar Mays, right?
Yep.
So guys that were there and playing 4, 5, 6 years ago, sort of thing, but not someone that's for most NBA fans, he's a very well-known player. He's competed in the dunk comp. Why don't you tell some of the younger viewers his other connection to the NBA Woods?
Well, Greg Anthony, right? New York Knicks veteran. I mean, New York Knicks is where we most know Greg Anthony playing with Patrick Ewing and those guys on those 90s teams. Just a hard-nosed guard.
Left point guard, right? He was
and forged a really, really good career in the media after his playing days, right? Very highly respected man in basketball circles.
Yeah.
So he has, we say it all the time, pedigree, man. He has that, right? And
pedigree, yeah. I got to say, I'm really excited with the movement. I thought Melbourne's roster was building up pretty well anyway. When I saw this, and the first thing I heard of was like, hang on, he's played with Jingles before, and like you said, they had that time in Orlando, and everyone that plays with Ingles seems to love the guy there. And someone I think is going to be exciting. He seems like a bit of a character, Cole Anthony. He's still a high flyer. He can put up points. It'll be interesting to see on this team. I don't think they're going to need him to average, 25 points a game, even though he could clearly easily do it. I think they've got such a deep team, they might not need that. But look, really exciting. It's going to put some more eyes on the league. And, Melbourne's one of those teams that, man, when that first game starts, and what are we, like a month away from the start of the season?
Yeah.
I cannot wait to see that first United game and see, Luke Travers back and Joe Ingles back for the first time in the NBL in, 17
They got that big man, Josh Oduro, who looks good as well, right? I mean, we're going to talk about Melbourne United later in True or False, so maybe we'll get into it there a bit, right?
For sure, yeah. So, look, that was obviously the big signing. We had to start with that one. There was a few other ones there, and as I mentioned, we're not going to go through every signing, just a few maybe key ones that I thought that came up over the last couple of weeks. So, Illawarra Hawks bringing back championship player Darius Days, and I'll go through it quickly and then I'll ask you some quick thoughts.
Okay.
Your Sydney Kings signing big man Andrew Carr, so 6'11" big that last year played with Rip City in the G League, averaged 10.8, 6.7, can stretch the floor, which I know the Kings were high on there. Southeast picking up Yanis Marin, a 6'10" Frenchie who recently played in Spain. Cairns getting Jaylon Brown, a point guard who last year played in Turkey. And man, his mixtape is very impressive there. And Perth also bringing back a former champion and highly respected player, 36-year-old Angus Brandt. So also one other quick one, Jalen Galloway did get released by Sydney and signed by Cairns. I think everyone knew that was going to happen, so we don't need to talk much about that. Maybe I'll start with Brandt, who I just mentioned, Woods, 36-year-old big man. Look, maybe I think a few Wildcats fans are really high on this signing, and a few other people are like, well, is this a few years too late there? I mean, he's coming in as a backup for JLA. I'm pretty happy about it. What are your thoughts on the move?
Very, very happy, man. He knows how to play the game at this level. This is just a great story. He's a kid from New South Wales, the Blue Mountains, I think, from memory, Robbie. And he started
years ago for the Kings, didn't we, together?
Started his career with the Kings 12 years ago.
Yeah.
And then obviously had those great years with your boys over in Perth, right? And then, as I said, had a great career overseas, and now he comes back to finish off his career in Australia, like a lot of other Aussies have done of late.
Yeah.
So
100%. It's interesting because the Wildcats have always been linked to Nicholas Kay and Angus Brandt and those sort of guys, and we get Brandt back. I mean, I was surprised when I saw the man 36, but as I said, coming back in that backup role there, he's not going to be JLA can sometimes get in foul trouble. Dylan Windler as a forward can sometimes get injured there. So I think he's great insurance. The Wildcats did lose David Aquera, but look, I think if you honestly had to choose between Aquera and Angus Brandt, you're probably still going to take Brandt right at this stage, even at his aging sort of years there. So I was quite pleased with that one. One that's a bit of a surprise. Yeah.
You got guys like Delhi, Aaron Baines, Joe Ingles coming back to finish their career from the NBA at the end of their careers here. So Angus Brandt, and you mentioned Nick Kay, Brock Modem, these guys have played in other parts of the world. Getting them, if it can work, getting them back at the end of their career to play in Australia is also going to be good, right?
No Paddy Mills though, Woods. I don't think it's going to happen somehow, unless he comes here when he's like 40 or something, which you never know, but I can't see that happening now. But the other one I wanted to talk about, and probably the main one we'll finish off with there, is Darius Days re-signing with the team that he helped win a championship a couple of years ago. I know they're trying to reconstruct this roster. They tried to get Lachlan Ulbrich, and that didn't quite happen. He's recently signed in Japan. But Darius Days, I know we spoke about this offline, Woods, and we were maybe a little surprised about the picture we saw of him. It looked like he may have been at the buffet a little bit since he was last out here. But what are your thoughts? Is this a good signing? Does this move the needle for the Hawks? Or is this more like a nostalgia thing? Like, this guy helped us win a chip, we're going to bring him back. What are your thoughts?
Well, I've done some research on this, right? So he played 4 games in the Philippines and he was let go, right? Being out of shape, lacking conditioning. But Justin Tatum has gone out and said like that he isn't worried about that. He knows what he's about. This guy's a culture guy. He fits into the system well here. There's other guys around there that'll work on him. The staff there in Illawarra will get him into the shape he needs to be in, ready for the start of the season. So I think it is a bit of nostalgia there. You hope that that he can switch on and contribute, but he has all the tools to be successful in this league. We know that, right?
And it'll be a six-man role, I'm sure.
Yeah, of course.
Right? Yeah. What about quickly to your King signing there? So I don't know if you know. I don't think many people knew about this Andrew Carr. Still quite a young guy. Shot quite high percentages from the three-point line. I know they like that with your boy Tim Suarez last year as well. So is this a kind of a like for like replacement there? Or?
10-7 in the G League. The guy can stretch the floor, right? The big man rotation is a bit of a concern for me in Sydney Little. This guy's played 1 year in the G League, right?
Yeah.
You've got 2 rookies in Wessels and Spurgeon, right?
Yeah.
Although they all are very skillful and can bring something different to the table, right? I think, it's a bit of a concern for me, not having that experience there.
Well, a concern for the big man department there, Woods. What about the swingman guys? Because you've basically lost every sort of swingman apart from Torrey Craig on the roster. You've lost Bull Quall, Kawat Noy, and Jalen Galloway. So, man, that's 3 big losses. That's a pretty... look, I know it's hard to retain players after winning a chip there, but that's some key players you've lost there. You've got to be sad to see Jalen Galloway go there, right? He was just starting to show something. Definitely.
But, I think he wanted an opportunity, right? And look, he's going to get it here in Cairns to play with his brother, right?
And he's starting on that Cairns team, isn't he?
Yeah, that Cairns team's looking really good when you think about
nice,
it.
Isn't it? Yeah, they've constructed the team well. And just very quickly as we finish on this sort of first segment, Woods, Jaylon Brown. You've seen the highlights package that this guy's got, right? This guy looks exciting, right? So he's a point guard, quite undersized from the look of him. I don't know his exact measurements, but this guy is a high flyer. I think he's going to be really exciting on this team.
Yeah, he's got a bit of Rob Edwards vibes even, right? A little bit, right? Let's see what he's like. He's going to get his shots up, though, that's for sure. And he's going to be an athlete, and he's going to be fun to watch. Let's just quickly touch on the French guy, Yanis Marin, right? I just want to talk about him really quickly. I'll tell you what Southeast Melbourne have done here. They've gone and got a savvy European veteran, right? Yeah. Who can fill the boots of John Brown III. This guy's 33 years. He's going to be 33 on August 30th, right? He's played all around the world. He's not going to be a league leader in block shots. He's not going to be a league leader in steals like John Brown, but he's a positional defender. He's going to protect the paint, right? He's going to be able to play the 4 spot as well. And Jordan Hunter had a great front court body there in John Brown III last year, right? So this is a like-for-like replacement they're bringing in. I've heard him speak in the media and talk about what he's going to bring to this table. I think Coach King is onto something here with getting this guy, right?
You reckon they'll get someone interviewing him and asking him about spiders and Vegemite or something, which we see drinking coffee, like we've seen the same interview.
Definitely.
Reports at the moment, so
definitely we will.
Yeah, we will see that, won't we? So no, I appreciate that. As I mentioned, certainly there's been a lot of other inputs. I think there's only a couple of teams now with some spots left. I'm not sure if Perth realises the season starts in a month, by the way. Just that little thing of signing your point guard. I mean, the season finished how many months ago, Woods? Wildcats fans are frustrated, and I'm certainly leading the chorus there, but I'll trust them for now that they do sign someone, but we'll certainly talk about Wildcats.
We had this problem last season.
Yeah, I know, exactly. Like, it's not like we're seeing it all happen again. But that brings us on to our season previews. And I think these are the teams we just, for some reason, started with actually, haven't we?
Definitely.
The 2 teams from south of where we are now, so in New Zealand and Tassie. So you've decided to do Tassie this year, so maybe you can take it away. And I know you've been excited for this, Wood. You've been preparing all your rosters and everything else like that. So you're sharing the Breakers one at the moment. Share us that Tassie one, and we'll go through that.
All right. So the 26-27 roster, for those who can't see, head coach Scott Roth. The depth chart we have here is Taron Armstrong at the point guard position. We got Bryce Hamilton, who's going to be injured for the start of the season. We got David Johnson, Josh Bannon, and Will Magnay. Off the bench, we've got Ben Eyre, Dakota Matthias, Nick Marshall, Majok Deng returns, Nick Stoddard as an NRP nominated replacement player, Anthony Drimmick, and then Haywood as a development player with Richardson. Okay, so look, firstly, what a great story it is, the local boy coming back after he was wasting away in Dubai for the last little period. Robbie, this made complete sense, right? Bringing him back to Tassie.
I'm super excited to see him back in the league, and yeah, it's interesting. He was over in Dubai when all the the bombings and all these sort of things were affecting the areas around there, and they got him the hell out of there. So I think he'll be back playing in front of friends and family. Really excited to see that. I know you got a lot more to give us, Woods. Just looking at that now, love the starting five. I'm not so sure about the depth though.
Well, I mean, I've got that question for you coming up as well. So let's just quickly go through it, right? So I think, Bryce Hamilton will be injured for over half the season. Although it's great to have him back and on a 2-year deal. We'll touch on that in a second because we've got a viewer's question on that, as I mentioned, right? Okay, David Johnson, you're a huge fan of his. He struggled with injuries throughout the season, but he showed at the end of last season what kind of player he could be in this league, and he's fully healthy now with the preseason. Happy with him returning to the team?
100%. He's one of those guys to me. If he can stay healthy this year, he's an all NBL type player there. Maybe sneaking into that second team there. So high on that, and love their all Aussie front court as well. I mean Bannon and Magnay again, health as well when you're talking about Magnay. But that's a big front line, isn't it?
Yeah. Okay. So you just took the words out of my mouth. Unreal Australian talent in the front court. But as the case is with Magnay always, and yes, to a lesser extent Bannon, it's health. Got to keep both those guys on the floor, right? But what's going to be really surprising? You see Ben Gold over there, sitting there on the... Did I mention him? I think I might have forgotten to mention him. So he's the backup center there to Magnay, Ben Gold. I forgot to mention him initially, right?
It's not Ari Gold from Entourage.
No, it's Ben Gold. So this guy, watch out for this kid, Robbie. He's a Kiwi big man who's part of a great program with Marquette in the Big East, right? And he's ready to be a pro right now. So I think he's going to surprise a few people. He's 6'10", 6'11". I think this is a good pickup for them. Nick Marshall, a lot more will be expected of him, right? This year, he took a leap last year, but he's going to need to do that again. Look, Dakota Mathias, he's been an elite shooter from college to the G League to overseas, Robbie. The stats don't lie, and Scott Roth has been looking at this guy's career for years now. Even when the team was initially formed, right, as a expansion franchise, Roth was looking at this guy, and he's played all over the world since. So if he can stay healthy, he'll be one of the best marksmen in this league. He has a high IQ, moves extremely well with the ball in his hands. So I think he's going to surprise a lot of people this season. He got injured quickly in Brisbane last year. We didn't get to see a lot of him, right? Yeah.
So you've obviously got him starting with Hamilton being out for. Right?
Yeah. Let's get to the fantasy start and sleeper. I think I've still got him coming off the bench. When we get to that later,
Fantasy Woods, it's back this year. Do we know any more about this NBL Supercoach? Because last year was a disaster. I'm sure everyone would agree, right?
Look, I'm hearing through the grapevine that they're going to bring back the super coach of the old variety, the one that everyone enjoyed. But then I'm hearing conflicting reports they're also just going to bring back Beat the Coach. So I think we'll find out in the next week or two, but there'll be some sort of competition, right?
What a disaster that was last year. Beat the Coach with Montrezl Harrell, and then he just gets shot before the season. That was a shocker. But yeah, who you got for those?
Yeah, anyway, quickly before we get into that, just a couple more things on this Tassie team, man. Ben Ayre as the backup point guard, I'm okay with it, but Taron Armstrong, he struggled with injuries in the past, so they're a little bit light there in general. Depth is a problem for this team, as you mentioned, right? Yeah. So if you look at that, with Hamilton out, everyone else moving up, you really, who can you rely on off the bench there? Nick Marshall, Ben Ayre. What if Ben Ayre has to start because Armstrong misses time? It complicates things. So depth is a problem there. Okay, so for my fantasy start, I've got Taron Armstrong. He steps in there. He's going to be able to put up big numbers, man. Triple threat on the floor, right?
Yeah, for sure.
My sleeper there is Anthony Drimmick. Okay, the reason I say that is to answer your question from earlier, with Bryce Hamilton missing that first little period of the season, I expect Drimmick to potentially start there in the 2 spot, right? And Mathias to come off the bench as that microwave scorer off the bench to give you that instant offense, right? So I think Drimmick will be a sleeper because he's going to actually log significant minutes, whether he starts or not with Hamilton out. I think he might just come in at good value and enable you to, because he plays extended minutes, allow him to build some stats for you. So
I'd say one thing, it is like, at least there's some proven players on that bench, right? You know what you're getting from Ben Ayre. You know that, guys like Drimmick and Dang, have certainly had some good, careers in the NBL. And Nick Marshall's, he's not a young guy anymore, but he's still on the rise there. So as much as it's not jumping out there, there's still guys that I think you can rely on there. And it's maybe some of these other ones, popping, like, you mentioned your boy Gold from...
He's going to be good.
New Zealand big man and these sort of guys like that. So, yeah, look, it's going to be competitive. Where have you sort of got him placed for the season, do you think?
We're gonna have to do our predictions later, but I've got him not probably in the top 6. I can't say for sure
we put an
top 4.
asterisk on this too, don't we? Because I feel like we put every team similar and we do it and like say, yeah, this is for now, right? So you're saying top 6.
Top 6 for now, but later on I'll look at everything and analyze it, and we'll do the top 10 or whatever later, right? But I'm gonna go top 6 for now, but I can't say top 4 for sure.
Yeah,
But
I'd agree with you with that. I think they're around that 5 to 7 sort of spot, just based on what I'm seeing there. So yeah, nice. Well done on the slides. I know you enjoy doing this sort of thing. And Scott Roth back again. That always makes the team stand tall, doesn't it? And he seems to get the best out of all these players there as well. So they're going to be exciting. There's a lot of Aussie talent on that team. It'd be great when Hamilton's back as well from that injury.
So you got to start on a sleeper for us as well, or?
I did have Armstrong as well. I think that sort of goes without saying. I think he's a guy that's triple-double alert and those sort of things at a time and that. I mean, maybe I'll say Nick Marshall as a sleeper.
Okay. I like that.
Someone that could definitely get minutes. I think he can play multiple positions there. He's someone that does seem to improve each season. So yeah, I'll probably say Marshall for the sleeper and Armstrong for the start. I think Armstrong's I think he'll be someone that I'll be looking to put in whatever format of this super coach they're having this year. I'll be looking at him.
Yep. And yeah, as you said, Marshall and Dremick will be the beneficiary of Hamilton missing that time early on, right?
Sure. Yep, and you got a viewer question as well, I believe, right?
I do. Okay, so viewer question from Dan Howard in Sydney. Okay, before I ask this question, man, I got to give a big shout out to Dan Howard, right? He epitomizes what a Jack Jumper fan is all about. He originates from the Apple Isle. I know Dan well. And, they've got fans all over this country, Robbie, not just in Tasmania, right? And, they're some of the most knowledgeable basketball fans in the league. When it comes to his Jack Jumpers, he knows about all the roster moves, the depth charts, everything. And shout out to him and shout out to Jack Jumpers fan in general, man, because they're some of the best fans in the league, right?
Yeah, for sure.
All right. So this is the question I got for you. And okay. With Bryce Hamilton set to miss over half the regular season, don't you think it would have been a better option for the Jack Jumpers to employ the services of an overseas pro as an injury replacement player? Last year, TJ Starks played the role very well for us. However, this year we have decided to go with Nick Stoddard as our nominated replacement player. Nominated replacement player. It's not injury replacement player. It's nominated replacement player. What are your thoughts on this? Yeah.
Well, you know what I feel about this spot on the roster, Woods. I'd love to see this, for a fringe NBL1 type player, maybe an import that's come out here, played in that NBL1 South, maybe is living in Tassie or something else like that. That's something I'd like to see there. Look, at the end of the day, it could come down to dollars, right? It might be a lot cheaper to have someone like Stoddard on there in that position than signing an import and sort of saying, look, we can play you for this time. It's not a guarantee there. But, yeah, it is a good question. I like that Starks guy when he was there last year. I felt like they maybe didn't play him enough as well. He sort of came out good in the first few games and he wasn't playing a lot of minutes before he finished up, was he there? So, yeah, I think it's a good question. I personally would prefer to see like an import replacement player in that spot, but you can probably understand why they've done it. They've had to spend a bit of money, I would have thought, to bring guys like David Johnson back, to bring Taron Armstrong to the team. So maybe it was dollars that came down to it, but yeah, it's an interesting one.
Yeah, it is an interesting one. And Dan, with Hamilton out for such an extended period of time, right? Dakota Mathias, he's not a star. He's going to be a great shooter off the bench, give you 10 to 12 points, fill it up and, be that microwave as we talked about, right? David Johnson as well, he's not going to create for others much. He's a guy on the wings he's a great catch and shoot guy. He's a good athlete, right? Yeah. You take out Hamilton, who's an all NBL level guy, and he's out for 3 months, right? And you don't get a quality guy in there. And you can get an import in there, as you said, a fringe NBL1 guy, a TJ Starks, a gun for hire, whatever, right? So you go, 15, 20 games without, and your only imports are Johnson, right?
Yeah.
And Mathias. It really does look light there, right? Armstrong, you're putting a lot on Armstrong's shoulders to get this team going.
Yeah.
And you in a league where it is just such a tight contest there to try and get into the top 6, it's often down to the last few games you're looking at, right?
Absolutely. And this is a team that's had injury concerns over the last couple of years too. We mentioned Magno there, Armstrong's had injuries at his various stops there. We want Bannon to be healthy. Johnson missed a lot of time. So yeah, I think you're almost one injury away from that team to having a few problems, I would have thought. But I'm looking forward to see this team though, for sure.
Yeah, it's just about staying healthy, man. You look at those guys: Armstrong, Bannon, Magne, Johnson. They've all had their share of injuries over the years. So just fingers crossed, man. They can stay healthy, but they'll be competitive.
Yeah, no, for sure. All right, appreciate that, mate. Well, I'll go on to New Zealand now. So, yeah, this is a team, man. You look at the incoming on this slide here. They've pretty much blown up this team, haven't they? I guess the main incoming ones, you've got Charles Bediako, are we calling him? Bediako, I think.
Bediako, yeah, Canadian.
Alabama. So he's
yeah.
an interesting guy. He's a US and Canadian citizen. He's got Ghanaian descent as well, which is interesting. Probably the big one, maybe you should have started that with Gordon Herbert, the head coach here. I'll talk a little bit about him later. Josiah Jordan James, so our version of AAA, played in Israel last year. Preston Legasic, I've got a few little sort of things I want to say about him, Woods. I'll save that actually, but looking forward to see how he goes this year. Then a couple of guys you know quite well, right? You've got Kawat Noy coming from a championship win with the Kings. You've got your boy, DJ Vasiljevic.
Former teammates, those two.
Teammates, yeah. So they're joining up there. And then you've got Anzac Rosetto, who's had a couple of stops at in some of the Victorian teams there. You've got Cale Robinson. Don't know a lot about him there. Young sort of guy coming through from Northern Kentucky University. So, look, a lot of incoming players. I mean, if you look at that depth chart there, of course, you've got PJC and Sam Menenga coming back. They were the two that they really wanted to come back. Apart from maybe, Davison, Tarangi and Lee Arthur there, it's pretty much all new guys there. So, I guess just on the depth chart before I give my little spiel on them there. So, look, the starting five's solid, right? You've got PJC, who we love. Everyone loves watching this guy. You've got DJ Vasiljevic at starting there. I'd love to probably see him as a six man at this stage of his career now, bring that instant offense off the bench. But there's no doubt he's still a good player at NBL level. You've got Triple J coming through at small forward there. That's going to be a fun one to call his name. Sam Menenga, who I think, we talked about someone, like David Johnson maybe pressing for an all-star, an all-NBL team this year. Sam Menenga's got to be one of those guys.
Yeah, for sure.
He's probably potentially a top 10 player in the league this season. And then the big fella in the middle, Charles Bediako. So apparently he's a little bit Shaq level on free throws, Woods, which is a little bit of a concern, but he does do other things well. So, yeah, I guess my sort of notes on the Breakers there, Woods. So, look, they finished last season in 7th place with a 14-20 record. It was actually an improvement on the season before where they finished 9th with a 10-19 record. And, look, they start this season with a new era with a big-time coaching hire in Gordon Herbert. So, for those that don't know the name, he's the current head coach of the Canadian national team, a team that's just, they're always a threat to win any type of medal in any tournament these days. He was also the coach of the German national team, where he guided them to a bronze medal at the Eurobasket 2022, and of course a gold medal at the 2023 FIBA World Cup. Who can forget that game? With my boy DS17 leading the way there, Dennis Schroeder. So he's actually born in Canada, Woods, but he's also spent a lot of time in Finland. He's got Finnish citizenship. He's also fluent in Finnish as well, which is pretty cool. I guess with the roster there, the first thing that stood out to me is they probably missed out on two homegrown bigs, and they're the two bigs that you see mentioned most off seasons now, and that's Yanni Wetzel and Sam Wardenberg. So didn't get those two guys. They did pick up two guys with championship pedigree in DJ and Kawat Noy, who we spoke about before, and including these two new imports. So Triple J and the Canadian big, someone that has played under the new coach. And that's Charles Bediako there. So he's someone that, I remember hearing the name when they picked him up there, and he was the centre of a bit of a college recruitment eligibility controversy there. Yeah. So you saw that, right? So essentially he left college at Alabama, signed a two-way contract with the San Antonio Spurs in the G League, played in the G League, and then wanted to come back, and it was denied, and it's kind of been, a lawsuit going on, all these sort of things there. So that was interesting that he's coming out here. And from what I hear about him, he's a big unit, right? He's going to fill up space. He's going to rebound. He's not going to stretch the floor much. He's a bit of an old school.
No, he's not at all.
Big guy there. But he's played in a number of junior FIBA competitions for Canada there. So I think he's going to be a good man in the middle there. So I guess that's my thoughts on the roster there. I guess a couple of guys I wanted to talk about. I'll do this through the fantasy thing we do, and that's the studs and sleeper. So, look, the fantasy stud, I thought about Menenga. He was really good last year, but for me, I'm going to go PJC, a.k.a. the law firm. We know he's super consistent, Woods. I think he'll be one of the top guys in fantasy this year. Although, man, there's some quality guards in the league this year. The sleeper is someone that I found tougher, but I'm going to go on a little bit of a deep dive here. And I'm going to say Preston Legasic, Woods. So this guy here, watch out for him, right? So he's got an Aussie dad and a Kiwi mum. He's a Gold Coast local, and he spent the last 6 years with Gold Coast in the NBL1 North. He actually had his best season to date this year, so he put up 24, 4 rebounds, 7 assists. And I've got to say, Woods, this guy is elite from three-point range. Like, I was looking at his game log for this season. basically 3-pointers made in each game. 4, 3, 6, 5, 4. This guy can fill it up from outside. So I think he's someone that could be pretty handy. And you could see if maybe he could potentially play some minutes with Jackson Cartwright. It could be a decent backcourt duo there. So I'm actually high on him. He's someone that I will be looking for in fantasy. I'm sure he'll be pretty cheap there. What are your thoughts on what's your fantasy sleeper and stud there?
Yeah, so I've gone for PJC and the sleeper Charles Badiker. I've got some notes to respond to what you said to. So Charles Badiker, he's a Freddie Gillespie type man, definitely, right? He likes he could be one of the league leaders in blocks, right? He's going to be able to set screens, rebound. He's going to be solid, man. I think he's going to be a good player, right? Your guy, you mentioned Josiah Jordan James. Well, he was playing in Israel alongside Anthony Lamb, former Breaker, who recommended that he come here, and this would be a great opportunity for him. He's a defensive-minded wing, right? You mentioned DJ Vasiljevic and Kouatnoy. They both have a point to prove, man. So, they've come over here with a bit of a chip on their shoulders, right? Sam Menenga, totally agree with you, man. He's got to go from strength to strength this year. Now, finally, PJC, I don't know if you heard the NBL Now show this year, earlier this week, right? There's been a little criticism from media circles saying, look, he's a great player, but he's not up there with Kendrick Davis or Bryce Cotton. He's a bit smaller. He gets found out on defense a little bit, and he can't score at the rim with them as easily, right, because of his size and whatnot. But but he does other things, man. He's such a great playmaker. He creates for others, and I think that criticism is a bit unfair. And I think he could, on this team, I don't know how well they'll do, but he's going to put up hectic numbers on this team, man, right?
No, I agree with that. And look, for those that are talking about his defense, he's never been known for that. But are Bryce Cotton and Kendrick Davis known for stopping people down one end? I know they both sort of try.
Did you hear that?
Yeah, I've heard similar things as well. And look, I know they're probably Davis and Bryce are a little bit bigger than PJC, aka the law firm. But look, I think he's probably the fastest of those three as well. And he's just I love watching this guy play. He's super exciting to watch. I know even my mum, if she watches New Zealand, she loves watching this guy play. So it's one of those people that attracts you to the game and you want to see how he goes there. It's interesting you mentioned before, Woods, with two of the imports they've signed, they're real defensive minded guys. So that probably goes well when you've got guys like PJC and DJ Vasiljevic, and not known for being amazing defenders there, I guess. Carlin Davison's another guy. Woods, the high flyer, right? So he'll get plenty of minutes on this squad this year.
He will, and I just don't think he's developed like they would have liked to have seen him last year, right? He looked really good in the preseason, but then he's just a bit all over the place. So I just think he needs some guidance, and really this is the season for him to really step up. PJC just quietly going through naturalization like Tyler Harvey to become a New Zealander as well. So that could that happens in the middle of the season or whatever, that could free them up a little bit.
What about the two veteran Kiwis we see on that roster there? Isaiah Liafa, Maori Huhu, I love saying that, and Ruben Tarangi. Are these guys done? Are they cooked? What's that word you use?
Cooked. I think Liafa's cooked, but Tarangi's still a good defender at this level, and you can plug and play him into a starting lineup if there are a few injuries, and he knows what to do. He's a good positional defender. He can knock down that corner three. So I think Tarangi, they need some experience on this team, right?
Hey, Liafa, another teammate with DJ and Kouatnoy as well. So the three of those guys reunited from those old Kings teams as well, which is pretty cool. So look, it's a funny one for me, I guess, in terms of where I think they'll go. I think they will be similar to last season. I know we did some fact checking today, Woods, and I think it's 33 games this season. I think it was at 34 last year. It's slightly different there. So, look, they won 14 games last year. I'm going to say they're pretty similar this year, right? I think there's some good players in this team. A little bit maybe like Tassie. I'm not completely convinced on the depth there. So I'm going to say they maybe finish in that 7 to 8 range there, and maybe look to go maybe 13 and 20 or something like that. Where are you thinking?
I think a bit lower, man, potentially. 9 to 10.
9th or 10th?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Well, Brisbane has still got a field of team, right? So they're normally a team we have down the bottom. But you think maybe they're going to improve?
They're good. I like the look of Brisbane this year. They're good.
Next week we're doing the Queensland teams?
No, we're doing the Melbourne teams. Mookie's coming on next week.
That's going to be fun with all the quality they've got. So, that was fun getting back into the research mode we're doing these teams, Woods. Hopefully we both did our homework pretty well, but that was interesting. I feel like I know these teams a lot better after doing some research this week, and it'll be the same once we do these other rosters there. So, all right, good.
Charles Badiker, man, top 3 in the league in block shots. I'm going to say that.
Yeah, no, true. He's definitely a big unit, isn't he? So, all right, well, I feel like I haven't spoken maybe as much this season, just with other stuff going on, as I'd like about NBL1. Of course, I always talk about the NBL1 East that I cover that I love so much, but all the competitions wrapped up from this weekend, Wood. So the NBL1 Nationals will be taking place in Adelaide this weekend. Can't wait to watch all the games. I'll be watching as much as I can, but I'm just going to go through. So, get comfortable, Woods, have a sip of your drink and listen to me ramble on for a little bit there. But I've done a bit of a recap for all of the conferences here, right? So we'll start off with the two series that I guess finished most recently. So I'll start off with the NBL1 North. So that season wrapped up last week, and they're the only one that used the best of three format, Woods, which I love. I don't know why they all can't do best of three. It's random that they're the only ones that do it, right? So in the women's, Mackay beat Townsville, so they beat them 2-1 there. Both 11 and 5 in the regular season, so pretty even coming into it. It was MVP Courtney Woods ruled out for the injury in that third game there, and it was the Babongi sisters leading the way, Woods. Cheyenne Babongi winning the Grand Final MVP, which is a great effort there. We know Monique Babongi. We've seen her play what am I thinking? Well, in the NBL1 East, like recently, right? So, so that was good to see her back out there. She's a quality player there. Basically, shout out to Mackay winning that one there. And in the men's, this was a real wasn't even really close this one. So this was 2-0 here. So in the men's, it was Gold Coast knocking out Ipswich. So Gold Coast were the team to beat all season, 14-2. How's this for points in these two games, Woods? They put up 118 and 120 in their two games there. So they knocked off Ipswich. So Ipswich were 8-8 and managed to make the grand final. So pretty good effort there. The dominant player for this one with Gold Coast was none other than Jensen Bradke. So we've had 28 and 7 in the deciding game. And of course, we'll see him in the NBL this
Melbourne
year.
United.
For Melbourne United, yep. He was well supported by two guys we'll also see in the NBL this year. So Preston Legassic, who we spoke about before, for New Zealand, and James Witt, who'll be a DP for the Wildcats, I believe, this year.
Injury replacement player. Replacement
That's
player.
right. So, managed to get the series despite a really big performance by Lamar Patterson, so former Atlanta Hawk. Shout out to Lamar Patterson, who put up a massive 40 points in the decider, but it wasn't enough, and Gold Coast got the win. So, Mackay in the women's, Gold Coast in the men. You liking the format, Woods? Have I done my research?
Yeah.
All right, so we'll go to the Central, right? So that's, of course, South Australia. That also finished last weekend. So in the men's, Forestville absolutely thrashed South Adelaide, 20 points. Forestville were the team to beat all season. How's this, Woods? Your boy Alex Starling, right? You remember him from
of course I do.
The 36ers. He's now a 4-time championship winner in the NBL1 Central, and he claimed a third Grand Final MVP award. So he's just dominating that league. He's made that league his own there. So he finished with 12 points and 15 rebounds, also a couple of assists and a couple of steals. Also made just his 10th three-pointer of the season, which I thought was pretty cool. Daniel Johnson also backed him up pretty well, so good to see veteran DJ getting another title there. In the women's, it was Sturt beating the favourites, actually, West Adelaide. So West Adelaide was 17-1 in the season. They lost this final by 6. So it was actually a fourth grand final in 5 years. And the Sturt Sabres finally broke through to become NBL1 Central champions, delivering a standout performance. They were led by co-captain Nicola Matthews, who was the grand final MVP. So, big shout out to Sturt and also to Forestville in that one there. And Alex Starling, shout out to him. Man, he's just dominating that league now. And then we'll go to the conferences that all took place this weekend, Wood. So I'll start off with the South. I watched quite a bit of these games on Saturday night. So in the women's, Knox have gone back-to-back. So they had a huge 80-54 point win against Waverley. So Knox were the big favourites in this one. And, of course, they won it last year. They also won the NBL1 Nationals, Wood. So we know Canberra won the men's, Knox won the women's. So they'll be looking forward to defend that crown in Adelaide next weekend, or this weekend coming in the Nationals. USA import Paige Bradley took out the grand final MVP. They've actually won 16 games in a row now, so they'll be going into that Nationals in pretty good form there. In the men's game, it was a really close game. So it was Eltham versus Frankston there, and Frankston took out a 78-75 win, which was their first NBL South title there. So they were led by Jeremy Combs, who took out the grand final MVP. It was good to see a few sort of current and former NBL players like Mitch McCarron was putting up some good work in that game there. But shout out to Eltham. It was a bit of a grinding game, this one, and a few of these games are a bit like that. You get to the final, Woods, you know what it's like. They're not always the best games, and I'd love to see the best of three. I like how they're doing that in the north there. And the other one that took place on Saturday was in the west, so in the women's. And no sniggering or laughing like a little kid when I say the names of this, Woods, but it was Coburn playing against Warwick. So, Coburn spelled probably different than how you say it there. Warwick were far too good and ran away with a one. to 76 wins. So the Senators were led by captain Chloe, 4 points, 5 rebounds, 6 assists, and they actually turned the tables on Coburn, who beat them last year. In the men's, this is a pretty exciting game. So it was Rockingham against Geraldton, or as the locals would say, Rocky against Gero. This ended up being a real low-scoring slugfest, with Rockingham winning 66-62. With who else but Isaac White taking out the grand final MVP. Woods, he was huge all game. They played at the Wildcats Stadium there, so it was looking nice. And Isaac White had 19.7 rebounds to win that MVP. And then, of course, it all finished off yesterday in the mighty NBL1 Eastwoods, which I think we're going to see some of these teams in the Nationals. Tell you what, they are becoming one of the best conferences, I reckon, in the East, and I'm not just biased in saying that. So, saw 2 really good games take place in Terrigal yesterday on the lovely Central Coast. Interestingly, Woods, both of these matchups were a repeat of the 2 versus 3 finals from the first week of the finals when it started, and they ended up getting back and crossing each other there. So in the women's, Manly, who'd knocked off the undefeated Norths in the semi-final last week and were 18-2, played Bankstown. And then the first of 2 thrilling games, it was the Bankstown Bruins pulling away for a 5-point win, 90-85. Shyla Hill, unstoppable. She was the grand final MVP, putting up 26 points. Well supported by another player that's had a lot of time in the WNBL, and Talia Tapia. So Tapia was an amazing 19 of 19 free throws, Woods, and she was clutch at the end when Manly were trying to stop the clock and kept on going there. So shout out to Bankstown. Look, I was probably hoping Manly would win. They did win last year, so it's nice to see another team win. But shout out to Bankstown. They've now become the 5th different team in 5 years to win a title in the NBL1 East Women's. And then what a game we had yesterday, Woods. I've told you need to go in and watch a replay of this one, right? So in the men's, it was Norths taking on Sutherland. So Norths were 16-4 in the regular season. Sutherland were basically the form team of the second half of the year. So, and it was the Bears, Norths Bears, who broke through for their first NBL1 East title. They won 76-64. Look, it was probably a little bit closer than what the scoreline suggested there. And I know you know this Bears team pretty well, Woods. Yep. They're one of the only teams, well, even though Sutherland as well, don't have an import. How's this for an NBL trio, though? Fabian Krislovich, Wani Swakala-Bullock, and Hunter Goodrick.
Yep.
So that's their big 3 there. Wani Swakala-Bullock, all this guy does is win, right, Wood? So he's got 4 NBL championships. He's now got an NBL1 championship to go with that. Hunter Goodrick was really good. Look, they had this all despite an amazing game from your boy Tyler Robertson, who had 29 points for Sutherland. They have, of course, Sutherland, Spurgeon, Lucas Waxy Walker, Lachlan Hutchinson there. So they're pretty star-studded and Aussie-led as well. The grand final MVP in this one, Woods, it could have gone to a number of Norths players. Even your former King, Iggy Mitchell, was really impressive in this one for Norths, but it was Fabian Krislovich who got it, putting up fairly modest numbers, 8 points, 10 rebounds, 4 assists, couple of steals, couple of blocks. So it was that all-round effort there. He was thrilled when they interviewed him after the game. He was so happy to sort of be winning this there. And guys that have had success in the NBL and now doing it in NBL1. That's a lot from me. Did I cover everything there?
You did, and you mentioned Tyler Robertson as well, and you spoke about the Kings losing a lot of guys, and he's a guy who's really proven himself in NBL1 in the off season. You can speak to that a little bit. Right? They're going to need him to actually contribute a lot more with fill some of those gaps that the Kings need filled.
Absolutely, right? Mate. He could be one of those first guys off the bench for Sutherland as well. Of course, they're coached by the Sutherland team is the Sydney Kings assistant coach there, so I know there's a bit of a link between the Kings and Sutherland there. But yeah, great end to the NBL.
First off the bench for the Kings, you mean?
Yeah, first for the Kings. So, end to the NBL1 season, but as I mentioned, the Nationals this week. So if you're in Adelaide, go and see the games. They're all going to be on KO as well, so I'm looking forward to sort of watch some of those. Didn't put my hand up to try and do some commentary this year. I've got just a lot of logistics and family stuff going, they've got to deal with at the moment, so I wasn't able to do that, but maybe next year I'll try and get to some Nationals and do that. But we'll go to some true false, right? Been a great show, Woods. Plenty to talk about.
Definitely, man.
We've gone
good
48
research.
Minutes already.
Good research.
Thank you. We'll go through this quickly. So, bit of true false. We've got a couple of NBA questions in there for those that are a bit starved of NBA this week. So, first one, you would love to see Atlanta sign free agent Peyton Watson.
I mean, of course. Hell yeah, man. He's one of my favorite players in the world at the moment, right?
Why is this guy not re-signing? We're midway through August. What's going on?
I told you, this guy should be a multiple-time All-Star, right? I think the way people perceive him is different. In some circles, he's worth a lot more. He's got that All-Star ceiling, right? In other circles, they think he's just a solid role player. So I think when you're a little bit of that different views on what a ceiling of a player can be,
Yeah.
then it's harder to agree to terms with him. So that's all I'm thinking,
True.
right? Yeah.
I'll say true. I'd like to see him get him. Would depend who they're saying they need to give up, because Hawks have got about 17 guys on the roster, and a lot of those are sort of playing that similar position to Peyton Watson. I think ultimately he will end up going back to Denver. They might sign some sort of
I wouldn't.
one year deal and then sort of try and
Yeah.
renegotiate. But yeah, he's a quality player. I know you're high on him there. So just strange to see. 17th of August we're recording this, and he's still a free agent there.
Denver invested so much time in him, and he developed so well in that system.
Yeah.
Playing alongside the Joker, he's comfortable with it, right? So I
Yeah.
think it would make sense for him to go back there.
Yeah,
But
right,
yeah,
yeah.
all right.
All right, I know we talk about this guy a little bit, but he has been in the news a little bit now. So Ben Simmons, he's been given a training camp invite from an undisclosed NBA team. He's also been doing some, private workouts, some Boomers camps and that. Will we see him in the NBA this season after all?
True. We will see him in the NBA.
I think we will too.
Yeah.
And it's not going to be at the start of the season, but I wouldn't be
Yeah.
surprised. Someone will take a gamble on him, right? There's nothing to
Course.
lose. Maybe a team that gets some injuries, like, right, come in, see what you can give us. Do you have anything left? And who knows?
I think
maybe
he could be on a roster at the start of the season, man.
Interesting, yeah.
You know?
I mean, look, for those that, he's got a lot of detractors there. He's still an elite defender. He can still handle the ball well. He's still not that old.
30, man.
Yeah, and the shot's probably never going to happen at this stage of his
No
career.
way.
The guy can still contribute.
Yeah.
Certainly there. So, all right, interesting. Okay, this one, we'll talk about this team a bit more next week. But Melbourne United, true or false, are loaded and deserve to be championship favourites this season.
Big true, right?
Yeah.
You put that starting lineup. I told you start with Josh Aduro at the 5, Sam Wardenberg at the 4. Then you're gonna have Luke Travis at the 3, Joe Ingles at the 2, and Cole Anthony at the 1.
Yeah.
That is like some huge size there, man. Like look at that size: Ingles, Travis, Aduro, Wardenberg. And then Anthony's like a bigger guard. He's a good rebounding guard as well.
Yeah,
and then you bring Golding and Fabian Krislovic is still there and all these other guys.
Starting
Yeah.
Golding and bringing Ingles off the bench. You reckon there's a chance they do that? Or do you think Ingles
Yeah. I mean, you could.
Could.
Yeah, you could. Yeah, that's possible, man. Yeah.
No, I agree. Absolutely. They are definitely the championship favourites at this stage now. I love the way they've constructed this roster. Luke Travis, we'll talk about him next week. I think he's going to have a huge season there. So looking forward to that. And we'll finish off with the guy whose jersey I'm repping today, Woods. So I guess the true false, and I've got a few little notes for here with this one, but Russell Westbrook will go down as one of the best point guards that we've ever seen.
True. No doubt, man.
Yeah, 100%. Well, I'd sort of put his accolades here, Woods, because he's one of those players, and I sent a thing on our group chat last night. People always like to hate on this guy for some reason. He's always had detractors, right? He plays an interesting style. He's a bit sort of crazy at times and that. But you talk about a resume, Woods, and we're talking about all-time greatness here. We know he was the MVP in 2017, a 9-time All-NBA player. Now that is pretty good, right? 2 in the first team, 5 in the second team, 2 in the third team. Think how many good guards he's been playing against throughout his career. That was pretty, big one for me, seeing a 9-time All-NBA, 9-time All-Star. 2 All-Star Game MVPs, 2-time scoring champion, 3-time assist leader, made the NBA All-Rookie team, made the NBA 75th anniversary team. He's also the NBA all-time leader in assists at triple doubles at 209, so 209 career triple doubles. Average a triple double across 4 separate seasons, and then he's got 27,000 points, Woods, 10,000 assists. He's also won a couple of gold medals with the US. That's pretty good, isn't it? And that's got to be one of the better point guards that I've seen in all my years watching him. Obviously, a guy I've loved as well. When I got this jersey out today, 6 Russell Westbrook jerseys I had. So I don't quite have every team he's played on, but I've got a decent amount of them there. But what an absolute legend. Obviously, we wish him all the best in retirement. Watching some highlight packages of this guy in the last week, it's funny, some of the stuff. I love the way he played, right? Just the motor that he had, just how much he cared and how much he wanted to win as well, right? Maybe that's the thing that people sort of forgot a little bit about when they watch him.
The greatest rebounding guard of all time, I say that, right? In terms of over 9,000, statistically, he's got more than anyone, more than Jason Kidd, Oscar Robertson, James Harden, Kobe Bryant, all those guys. And he averaged 7 rebounds a game throughout his career from the guard position, playing a lot of games, man. That is just amazing, right?
100%. No, he was a player I think we're going to miss. And look, he clearly could have, stayed on. He wanted to go out on his own terms, like I mentioned earlier. And wish him all the best in retirement there. So, all right, Woods. Well, really fun show. Really appreciate all your research. Looking forward to do it all again. Maybe before I do our little shout outs, give us a little bit of a tease on what's happening on next week's show. What do you reckon?
Yeah, Mookie's coming on like he does every year, and we're going to do the Melbourne teams, man. Southeast Melbourne and Melbourne United, right? So, we can talk about some of the stuff we touched on a little bit today. We did talk about SEM a little bit and United just then, so we can double click on all that next week. Looking forward to it. Yeah.
Looking forward to that. And Mookie, I know you'll be hard at work preparing all this stuff for this week, for the next episode, so looking forward to that. As I mentioned at the start of the show, please make sure you like, rate, and subscribe on YouTube or wherever you listen to your podcasts. Please follow us on X is the main place to follow us at Throwback Hoops. We'll get these jerseys up. We'll also get this lovely Glenn Doc Rivers card up. Isn't that a nice cardboard?
Hall of Famer Glenn Doc Rivers.
Hall of Famer. Put that Hoff on his name, right? So great to see that. Patreon. We mention it each week. We'll also put the link for this on the the audio podcast and on the YouTube link there. If anyone wants to pledge us $1 or $2 a month, it would really help with all the costs that are associated with doing this each week. And I say each week, Woods, we are back each week now. We had a couple of little breaks now.
Yep.
We're back each week. We've got all the NBL previews. We've got predictions to come. And before we know it, the NBA will be here. I think it's just over 2 months now for the NBA season. I know the schedule came out last week. So, really fun show. Any final words from yourself, mate?
No, just really excited. You said you enjoy doing this, learning your rosters and everything like that. To all the NBL fans out there, we've got such great media outlets. All the rosters have come together pretty much completely now. So take some time, learn about these rosters. Who are the new players? Who's playing in new destinations and so forth, right? So it's that time, yeah.
And I can give you a little bit of a heads up now, Woods. You can finish watching all that garbage reality TV that I know you love watching with your missus. Get that all finished in the next couple of weeks, and then it's NBL. You're going to be watching games every Thursday, Friday, Saturday, every day they're on, right? So get all your your Love Islands and everything like that up to date.
Yeah, all right.
Focus on
all
that.
right.
All right, nice one, bro. Well, really appreciate all your work this week. It's been fun. Can't wait to do it all again next week.
Yeah.
Peace out from Throwback Hoops.
Yeah, peace out. I know you watch Love Island too, man.
That's being recorded.